I just got done getting dressed for my kimono experience. I am in Kyoto, Japan, and I misunderstood what this experience was going to be on Airbnb because I definitely seen walking tour with this. So I thought that I would dress up in the kimono with the like a tour guide and understand a little bit more about the history of the kimono in Kyoto. But I'm not. I'm walking by myself. So she was like, "How long do you want to keep it?" I'm like, "Just an hour," because I need to go eat and just explore. And I don't know if I really feel, I don't know if it made me feel weird just keeping this on and walking around. So you're gonna see a little bit of Kyoto with me as I explain my overall experience in Japan. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tasha, and this channel is all about providing travel inspiration and providing you with the personal finance tips you need to reach your travel goals. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and notification bells if you want to see all things travel and how to get your money right to be able to travel. I decided to walk to a park so I can get some good shots in this beautiful kimono that I'm wearing. I am really enjoying my time in Kyoto. I spent a few days in Tokyo, as y'all already saw, but Kyoto is just a different vibe. It's not as busy as Tokyo. I think it's the second largest city in Japan, and it actually used to be the capital of Japan, according to Jake, my friend Jake. So if he wrong, get at him in the comments, not me. But like when we arrived at the train station and just it was rainy and gloomy, but it just felt like a different vibe. And I think we were all a little bit more relaxed of not feeling like we had to rush and do things, so that could have a lot to do with it. I would say I definitely liked my hotel in Tokyo better. We had the best meal ever in Kyoto, and I have a vlog about that, and I'll link that in the description box below. But just the city, you see a lot more families. It's a lot slower here. And what I'm realizing with traveling the world is I always start with a huge big city and then I go to like the next big city, and that's usually more my vibe because there's still a lot to do, but it's just not as, I guess, confusing maybe. And what I really need to start doing is starting with a bigger, slower city first and then go to the big city. But overall, the Japanese culture has been very interesting to learn. Now, I was in quarantine the first couple days when I got to Tokyo, so I missed a walking tour. And as I mentioned earlier, I thought I was getting a walking tour with a kimono, and I was really uncomfortable walking around at first because I'm like, this black girl in this kimono walking around, really? And of course, I'm taking pictures and all of that. But I ended up walking to the park, and I haven't felt weird or anything, like no weird looks. And actually, people stopped to help me take pictures of myself when I'm trying to do all these selfies by myself because Jake and Ed they went somewhere else. We split up our day basically today. So I hopefully will fit in a walking tour to understand the history of Kyoto a little bit better. But I'm at a park right now, just chilling, just taking it all in. And at the day of recording it, it's actually Easter in the US. And it's so funny because the more I travel, like the US holidays, I don't really have, it's not brought up anywhere else. So I be forgetting that it be holidays until I get on social media and see it. So this is, I guess, how I'm spending my Easter Sunday if I want to be correct. And from what I know, Japanese culture is mostly Buddhist. And if I'm wrong, I'll put the correct thing on the screen at this time. So I've just been walking around different temples, and I definitely am excited to meet Jake's friend tomorrow because he's actually a professor at the university here in Kyoto of Buddhism. And I want to compare Buddhism in Chiang Mai, Thailand, what I learned, into what happens in Kyoto, Japan. But overall, I've just been walking around. I did karaoke last night. That was fun. So I met Jake's cousin and his girlfriend, and she's Japanese, and it was very helpful to understand about the Japanese culture through her lens. So I've just been doing random stuff, and I decided to just sit down here and talk and reflect on my experience here in Japan, I think the hardest thing for me, believe it or not, is not the language, because I've gotten used to just smiling when I don't know the language and use a Google Translate. And then when I don't know, if I mean, as far as when Google Translate doesn't work for me, I just have to just woosah, take a deep breath, and just maybe move on to the next restaurant. Or if I'm trying to figure out the train system, I just have to just default and go to Uber or something if I really can't figure it out. But so the language hasn't been an issue here for me. Jake, he done learned Japanese, I think, in like 2 weeks or something, because he knows enough to get around and like saying hi, ordering the food, as far as like just the basic stuff you need to know how to say hi, bye, thank you, help, whatever. Me, on the other hand, I didn't have time. I didn't learn anything as far as the basic things. And I keep, because I'm traveling so much, it's hard for me to learn those things quickly and use them. And that's just an excuse, but I do need to get better at that. But the hardest thing for me has been finding the foods, like a regular schedule for food. So, for example, a lot of the food here is deep fried. If you like see street food, which is not as common as Thailand. I'm gonna keep bringing it up because I just came from Thailand and I was there for 2 months. And it's not a lot of fruit available when we were in Tokyo. Like the little family marts, it's family marts and like 7-Elevens everywhere. Basically, like think your bodega corner store type thing. And it's a lot of meals there to cook. Like you can buy fried rice and sushi and heat up, but I'm like used to having my breakfast and having like a lot of fruit, um, salads and all that stuff. So I'm having a hard time finding my groove with food, and I've been eating a lot of deep fried food, which I'm trying to get away from because I haven't had that in a while. But when I'm in restaurants, it's really not an option for a lot of green. Usually it's a lot of option for rice or some type of ramen. But I have the restaurants we've been going to, it hasn't been a lot of options for vegetables and greenery. So that's where I'm like, okay, I'm really suffering on the diet part, because I was doing well, eating clean, and just feeling better. And now I'm kind of just eating random stuff. Now, the meal I mentioned before was about like Kobe beef, and that experience, you get the like finest grade of beef and you cook it right in front of you like that. Tenderloin literally melted in my mouth. Like it was so good. So I'm gonna probably just go more to the beef side of things when I go to restaurants. And I don't know what I'm gonna do for vegetables or fruit. And I'm noticing I'm eating a lot more sweets. And that happens when I'm on vacation. Is Japan on your bucket list? Let me know in the comments. And if it is, what part of Japan do you want to see? Getting outfitted in my kimono today was quite the experience. Like I didn't know it would take almost 45 minutes to like get everything together, like pick out the bag, put my hair up in a bun, all of that. So you start off with like the under wrap, the underdressing of this. Now, because I am curvy, we had to change it out a few times. Like it's supposed to be like one piece, I think you're underdressing, but we had to stop, put on the two piece, and try to find different stuff that fit me, because the Japanese are really small frame, especially the women, they're smaller. I felt like a giant next to her, as you can see with her fitting me. And like just the furniture is very small, was small in her home. And like I was sitting there, I just felt like I was about to break something. Like I'm not a dainty woman by any means. So I did not know it would, all this went into it, but I really did appreciate it. And apparently this is really worn for like graduations and wedding ceremonies. I was asking her that, like, when do you put on this type of garment? And I wanted a little bit more information, but we used Google Translate a little bit for her to communicate with me. And I thought the experience was going to be in English. Now, again, I do not travel thinking people should speak English, but when I book tours, I try to book them in English so I can comprehend without trying to use Google Translate. And it did say English was available. Now, she did talk to me in English, but it was like she was looking at me like, I'm not giving you like a whole lesson. We just doing the fitting and you walk around yourself to see the city and the Komodo. So now that I'm out doing it, I do appreciate being fitted for this, but I had no idea all of this went into it. And you're very warm because well, it's warm today and it's sunny, so I don't know how it would feel when it was cold. But you have, it's not just this first layer you're seeing underneath as you are seeing me getting dressed. Now, it was so funny when it came to my hair because like she's used to like styling hair, and even with my braids, she was like, bun? I'm like, yeah. And she wanted to do something different. So she tried to do like a braid in the bun. And she was like, okay, this ain't working. So I just put it in a bun and we just put the, the floral that you see here. And it was so many, what was I going to say? A lot of options for the type of accessories you want to put in your hair. And she was like, you only gonna pick those two? I'm like, yes. So once you get the underdressing fitted and you get the kimono style on you, and then this, I forgot what she called this that quick. You go and you get your accessories, and then you you're done for the most part. And then, oh no, the shoes. Now my feet, I wear size 10 in women, and that was not that was not a thing. She was like, "Whoo, we got to put man shoes on." I said, "I'm used to that." So it's customary to wear the white socks that you see with these now, because when I first saw it, I'm like, "Why would I wear socks with sandals?" But that is customary to when you're wearing a kimono. You have the white socks with a like special type of sandals for the kimono. And because I'm not speaking intelligently about the kimono experience, I'm going to be dropping some stuff on the screen that I'm going to be finding from the good Google. Um, but I really did enjoy like being at home and being fitted for this, even though it was funny with trying to find the right size for me and my hair. Now, I only picked from like 3 different colors, so I think because of my size, I didn't have as many options as I would have had if I was smaller. But this worked because I was able to pick from like pink, blue, and like I think a purple color. And I love wearing pink. Do me a favor, real quick. Make sure you hit that like button, and if you love my content, go ahead and share it on your social media. Help your girl out, get my subscribers up. The big difference that I noticed between Kyoto and Tokyo is Kyoto seems to be more traditional than Tokyo, and that's not abnormal. Usually, the bigger cities have tourism and they have more Western ways of doing things. Like in restaurants, you're more likely to see a menu in English. You're more likely to have food that's more like westernized in flavoring than the traditional Japanese way. In Kyoto, the restaurants, the seating is smaller. It's like made for like Japanese, uh, like body types, I want to say. So when we were in a coffee shop, when we went to another restaurant, and it was like, whoa, are we gonna be able to fit in these smaller chairs? And it was the same thing, like I said, when I was getting fitted for the kimono today. So the actual furniture and everything is more traditional to Japanese culture, in my opinion. You see a lot more temples and shrines throughout Kyoto that it's not as packed because it's not as many people here as it is in Tokyo. But you do have your markets. Went to the market here, and I found something to wear for my like night photo shoot when I go back to Shibuya and Tokyo. But I don't know. I think that's maybe why I'm favoring Kyoto more than Tokyo, because it is a little bit more traditional. Just from like when you go into the restaurant, the food options you have is a little bit more. I don't know. In my opinion, a little bit more traditional to Japanese culture, which is probably why I'm having a hard time with the food, because I was just complaining about like I don't see a lot of vegetables options for me. It is springtime. I think there's springtime. I'm here in April. But that's what I'm feeling. The vibe, it seems like it's just more slower, a little bit more traditional. It's not as many tourists that come here. Now there is tourists here. Clearly, they have a whole experience for you to put on the kimono, but not as many as you would see in Tokyo. Also, the transportation is different in Kyoto versus Tokyo. You are more likely going to use a bus system than a subway system, because the bus is going to go to more areas than a subway, I believe. And like when you pull up Google Maps, it's going to give you bus options a lot more than taking like a metro or a subway. So, and I prefer the subway and metro because you don't have to deal with no traffic, you're not stopping, and it's more timely. There are so many things I really love about Japan. First and foremost, it is very clean here. it's going to be rare you see just trash, like people litter anywhere. The streets are so clean, both Tokyo and Kyoto. And I'm talking about in Shibuya, a very busy area, kind of like the Times Square of Japan. You see the trash from businesses, like there are big trash bags out on the street, but it's very clean here. And talking to Anna and Billy Jack, that's Jake's cousins, him and his girlfriend, she's Japanese, and so understanding the culture a little bit more from her perspective on that the crime here is very low, meaning that if someone were to be drunk, passed out, like no one's gonna try to rob them. They're more likely to put a cover on you while you pass out somewhere than to try to like rob you or anything. Same thing with like assault or anything. You just don't. It's just not a thing here. From talking with them, you know what I mean. Like I'm not speaking for the whole country. Just from my perspective and talking with her, and it just was really interesting to learn things from someone who is Japanese. And taking the metro here, you really are able to observe the culture. People are just respectful. Nobody's trying to elbow you to get off the metro like I've experienced in certain parts of Europe. And if you go to New York, you better be ready to throw them bows sometimes to get on and off the train. That wasn't here. Like people actually stand in line. Like I'm not used to that because some places, including the US, everywhere, they don't like to follow rules. But when you're in a subway, especially when you like in Kyoto and like areas like Tokyo, when you see people being disrespectful, it's usually the tourists, it's not Japanese. They waiting in line. They wait for everyone to exit out off the train and take their time getting on. It's just like wow. And people just there. It's very quiet here. Like when you're in restaurants, I'm in a park, so you're gonna hear background noise, but they tend to sit tourists in the back because we be loud. And I'm not talking about just black. I'm saying people from the U.S. and different parts of the world tend to be louder than the Japanese, so they may sit you in the back. But they are welcoming in their own way. It's not like an outpouring that you may expect if you're from certain parts of the world. Like depending on what your culture is, they just mind their business and they're just respectful. And I take respectful any day of the week. So that's why I said I definitely want to come back here. It's clean. I feel safe. I don't feel unwelcome here. And yeah, I just want to explore more and learn more about the culture. Cycling here is very common. You are going to see people riding the bicycles in both Tokyo and Kyoto, but since Kyoto doesn't have as much traffic as Tokyo, you see it a lot more. You see people everywhere just riding their bikes, and I think it's like springtime, so you see a lot more people out. Like I know in Detroit, when that sun breaks, we be losing our minds. So you're seeing people out just enjoying the weather a lot more here. But so many things I love about being here in Japan. That's my quick recap of my time so far here in Japan. I still have a few more days in Kyoto and going back to Tokyo. Let me know what you thought about my experience so far. Again, any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.